Hi everybody, welcome very much to the channel. Esoteric Cloud Surfer here to talk about spirituality in games. And today let's go into Pokemon, one of my favorite franchises. Before we do that, leave a like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. Also use the links down below to find more of my content and to know how to contact me. Use the LinkTree and the email down below for consultations and readings. So today let's talk about Pokemon and let's talk about a specific Pokemon called Mew. And first and foremost, Mew really sounds like Mew, right? But to take a deeper perspective about Pokemon and how it mirrors real spiritual concepts, let's take a quick look at the creation story or the creation myth of the Pokemon world, right? First, there was chaos, right? AKA just a bunch of spirits, not aware of themselves, not aware of each other, just in a vortex of chaos with no order and no purpose. Then an egg was formed. So that means a bigger space made out of many smaller spaces that are aware of themselves and others was formed. Because if those spaces weren't aware of themselves and others, they couldn't create forms, they couldn't relate and align to each other, right? And then from that egg, Arceus, the god or the physical form of God, was created, right? And that's the god of Pokemon, the god of the Pokemon world, basically. And then it created Dialga to control time, aka Saturn. Then it created Palkia to control space, aka Jupiter. Dialga is dragon and steel. Dragon means the most powerful. Steel means the structure and the longevity of Saturn. Dialga, or Palkia I mean, is dragon and water. Water being the source of life, the source of expansion, and the healing and connective tissue, aka space, right? And Arceus created other Pokemons like Groudon and Kyogre to give earth and water, but it also created Mew. And Mew has a very special role because Mew's role was to go to Earth and most likely other planets and populate the Earth. But it wasn't just one Mew, it was a lot of Mews. And those Mews, right, which are a mythical Pokemon, not legendary, a little bit different, they started to evolve into different Pokemons and into different forms. So my point in this video is that Mew represents the ability of your spirit and everybody else's spirit to become whatever you want slash need slash just fulfill yourself to be, right? Because Mew is a psychic type Pokemon, so psychic related to the mind, more related to the spiritual and spiritual aspects, and Mew can learn every single move of Pokemon's, every single attack on Pokemon games, right? So that means that Mew, the spirit, has the ability to do anything, aka all possibilities. But depending on the environment that the Mews were growing, they started to transform and take more specific shapes and forms and more specific typings and more specific moves. So you as a spirit, right, you are like a Mew. You come into a world and you can do anything. You can learn any move. You can become any Pokemon. You can become any state. But depending on where you came from and the spiritual states that you decide to go through, aka your environment that you chose to participate and you can change with your presence, you start to become more specific, more shapes and forms, more limits and boundaries. And that's not bad, that's good, right? Because people say, oh, this body is a prison, this world is a prison. No. First, you chose to come here and we need this world to experience ourselves and other spirits. That's our main goal down here, right? But you then as a spirit can choose, spiritually speaking, where to live and how that will shape you. So you start as a Mew, as a new spirit, right? without a specific typing, without a specific form or color or shape, but then you and your environment together will shape each other, and you will change into a form, into an existence, right, that fits the environment and your experience the best way possible, right? So that is what Mew represents. First, Mew new, so the power to be new, the power to be anything you want. Even right now, imagine you have lived, or see this as an example, if you have lived for 50 years, you can still be new, you can still be like Mew and learn any moves or become any Pokemon that you need, right? Also, Mew also knows the move transform, so they can transform into any other Pokemon with and learn any new attack as well, right? So you can always do that. Mew represents the power of the spirit to become new every time you need or want to be new, right? So never put yourself into spiritual cages that do not allow you to change and go to different situations and places, right? Then you can learn any move. So you can learn anything, right? And Mew, through evolution, became all the Pokemons in the world. So you can become everything you want as well. But just like Mew, you gotta evolve into it. Yes, Mew can use Transform to transform into any other Pokemon, but if Mews don't evolve over time, there wouldn't be any Pokemon to transform into, because Transform is an attack that transforms immediately into a Pokemon, but that already existed. So through a longer evolution, you create new forms that are more stable and more that have more longevity as well, right? And then Mew basically in the Pokemon world is this very hard to catch, even hard to witness Pokemon, a mythical Pokemon, and people try to clone it. And then they made Mewtwo, and the failed clones were Dittos, right? So first, the elusive aspect, hard to catch, hard to grasp, hard to even witness, right? Because in this day and age, in this current spiritual DNA day and age, people have forgotten that they can be Mew, that they can be new, right? So that's the representation of Mew being hard to catch and hard to see, because most people, they got too much lost into their minds, emotions, and bodies, so and they give too much power to the external world. So they are not Mew, they are not new, they can't even see it. Some people don't even believe Mew exists in the Pokemon world. So some people in this world don't even believe you can be anything you want, you can change at any time, you can learn anything, and over time you can evolve into different versions of yourself, right? So people try to clone it, right? So instead of you being Mew, right, instead of you becoming new, you try to catch it as an external reference. So that means that instead of you looking within and just being new, you look for something else externally that can be Mew, that can be new, and instead of you becoming that, people try to clone it. And scientists in the Pokemon world cloned Mew, right? So people that are special, or especially people that are more lost into the logical realm, they will try to look for God or the God's particle or the origin of the universe, and they are one of the entities responsible for the existence of themselves and the environment around themselves, right? So then, in the Pokemon world, after Mew was cloned, it was created Mewtwo, which was more cold because it was like in a scientific environment created, and Mewtwo does not have the same abilities as Mew. It cannot transform into other Pokemon, it cannot learn all the moves, and it has different stats as in attack and defense, but it doesn't really matter, right? But by the way, go watch the first Pokemon movie. We have some good philosophical interactions, and even Mewtwo can speak, but Mew doesn't, and they understand each other, and Mewtwo presents Mew with these philosophical questions, and Mew just answers Mew, and then Mewtwo learns and understands. So the simplicity of the spirituality is able to teach somebody that is lost in logic, because Mew 2, so Mew 2 is the aftermath of Mew. Mew 2 is the consequence, the creation, the duplication of the spiritual state in a more physical and logical form. But that more logical form, sometimes lost into logicality, I mean, that gave too much power to the environment, can still learn about the spirit and the power to be new as simply as Mew communicated with Mewtwo in that movie. Just Mew. And then you have the failed clones, Ditto. Ditto are also pink, and they can also transform into any other Pokemon. Actually, it's their only ability. They can't learn any other move but transform. So Dittos are the representation of people that they don't try to create a clone, they don't look for an external representation of Mew, of the spiritual power to be new, they are fake. And they mirror the external realm so they can become something new when they need something. So instead of them becoming new, they copy and they duplicate something that already exists outside. And you know one fun fact, Dittos in the Pokemon world, they can never perfectly transform themselves. Their eyes always look different. So they can transform into objects and Pokemon as well, but they always have a weird set of eyes. So you can see the Dittos in the real world. You can see fake spiritual people, or just people that are fake in a specific subject or area, because they didn't become new and then evolved into that area, into that mind, into that state, into that subject, into that theory, whatever they are into, but they just came in and used transform to copy, right? And you can see them because they will have fake eyes, they will have fake, or they will have certain characteristics that do not match the environment or the path that they said they took. So you're gonna know they're lying, you're gonna know they really don't fit in that environment that they're trying to fit in, looking for some spiritual satisfaction or just for validation, right? So let's conclude this video. Let's put all these thoughts together. Mew is new. The power to transform into anything, the power to learn anything, and the power for you to choose an environment and then evolve into something specific to experience and thrive in a specific environment. Then we have the cloning of Mew, right? That means Mewtwo and Ditto. Mewtwo is when people that forgot about Mew try to attribute that power and characteristic to something external. And then you have Dittos, which they transform and copy something external in order to be new or to feel validated. And Mew ultimately represents us as spirits once upon a time where the earth was not really earth, it was just an agglomeration of spirits, and there was not anything specific at the time, just a bunch of spirits. But then by relating with each other, by being aware of ourselves and other spirits, slowly but surely we started to go through our spiritual natures and preferences, and we can identify that through how we move specifically. So different patterns, different frequency and vibrations create different types of matter. So Mew represents a time where there was not specific shapes and forms, but then through spiritual natures and spiritual preferences, we created specific patterns and we organized each other's into groups that moved in similar ways, that had similar spiritual natures and spiritual preferences, and then created phenotypes, geographical locations, and astrological alignments, or I would say the astrological alignments indicate where certain natures, where certain preferences came from. Okay? So Mew is new. And you have the power to be just like Mew and transform and learn and be anything you want. But just like Mew had to evolve over time to become a specific Pokemon, you still need to spend enough time in a specific space, in a specific state, to become something that is relatable to that environment, spiritually speaking. So, that's spirituality into Pokemon. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. Leave a like and subscribe. It's really appreciated. And there's the links on below to find more of my content and to book readings and consultations with me. Until the next time, I see you soon.